Hey y'all, happy Saturday. Good afternoon or good evening from wherever you're joining from around the world. I am Krishan Wright, the host of the Blaxit Global podcast and the founder of Blaxit Global. I am so excited that you're here today. So I just want to say that I am hoping that you're excited to talk and listen to my conversation with my guest, Marquita Harris. And yeah, I just want to say hi to everyone. Let me know that you can, please let me know that you can at least see and hear me. That would be something that would be very appreciative. But let me know that you can see. Okay, awesome. So you can. Hey, Gooby Ventures, howdy. How are you? Thank you for being here. Yeah, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. I am a high energy person and it works when your energy matches mine. So please don't be shy. Drop a comment. Let me know where you're joining from. And hey, Dee, how are you? How are you today? Happy Saturday. Hey, Monica from Indy. Holla. Phoenix Rising. Hey, it's so nice to see you. Nice to see you. Awesome. Yes, thank you for letting me know you can hear because that's important. It's important. Hey, Christina, how are you? Good to see you today. I'm so excited that you're all here. It's a Saturday. It's been a beautiful day. I was just talking to my guest and letting her know I did a walk earlier. Dee, you are in Washington? Ooh, I've been there once. And Christina is in Virginia. Nice, nice, nice. All right, Nashville. Oh my gosh, I think I was there 2 years ago. I want to say, D joining from Georgia. Ooh, I like me some Georgia. I think I was there 2 years ago too. I was doing a lot of traveling. Well, I think we all were 2 years ago, to be honest. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I hope you all are doing well. So one of the things I also want to do is, hey, you know what? I am so excited for my conversation today with my guest. But hey, I want you tag a friend, let them know what's going down at Blaxit Global on YouTube today because we have an incredible, incredible guest. Hey, Alyssa. Hey, joining from Delaware. So Stephanie Perry, right? Isn't she in Delaware? Yep. All right. Okay. Hey, Lynette, how are you? Yeah, yeah. I know there's a lot of states that here that a lot of people want to get away from, so I totally feel you on that. Um, but yeah, so that's awesome. So without further ado, I want to all welcome you here today. I'm excited to have a conversation with my next guest. I am sure that many of you have thought about what it would be like if you could travel the world for a year for free and anywhere, right? Where would you go? So for me, my happy place, as I talk about to anybody who will listen, is New Zealand. That is my happy place since I was a kid growing up in the Bronx and finally made it on a solo trip in 2017, changed my life. And I think in a lot of ways that kind of led it to be possible for this to come into fruition. But, as part of this platform, I've had the pleasure of meeting wonderful people on their respective journeys and seeing where they are and learning about the cultures that they're experiencing, different languages. Also, when you think about moving abroad, and we did a session, I think it was about 2 weeks ago on a scouting trip, is thinking about tax systems, right? When you're getting residency in another country, it isn't just living in another place. It changes the dynamic from being a tourist. So there's different things that you have to consider there. So I'm excited because as most of you know, I'm getting ready to go on my scouting trip to Costa Rica in like 3 weeks. And so I'll be popping in and kind of sharing that journey with you. And yeah, I am excited because I think it's an opportunity for us to learn from one another on what are those things that are important. And as always, being clear on your why, but then understanding that we're each on our own path and on our own respective journeys. And even that is really beautiful to sit in this moment. So, yeah, I want to acknowledge some more people. Hey, Angela, Kansas City. Oh, yeah, I've been to Kansas. Hello, hello. Janique, hello. How are you? Good afternoon. Hello. Yes, please continue to join and drop in the comments. So, please, I also hope you have so many questions. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my next guest. So, like I said, many people have thought about where they would go if they had the opportunity to live around the world for a year for free. Where would you go? What would you do? And so there was a contest earlier this year that Airbnb had put out. Many people entered the contest and several were selected. And so my next guest is one of the winners. So Marquita Harris is a journalist, fellow podcaster, and a Jane of all trades. And so I'm excited to have her here to share her incredible story and to share where she is in the world. Hello, Marquita.
Hi, Beauty. I love your energy so much. It's just, I love it. I feel a kinship. And also just seeing your face, and because I listen to the podcast so much, it's just like, I love it. I'm appreciating this moment.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that makes me feel so good. Because like I shared right before we went live, I'm like, I'm having a fangirl moment here right
Oh,
now.
girl. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was like, wait, what? Like, what did I do in the universe to
Oh,
like make
oh
this
my
happen?
gosh.
I
You
was
are
just like,
so
thank you, God, I
kind.
did something right.
Oh my gosh, you are so girl. Same. I listened to your podcast so much during the pandemic before all of this. So it's just yeah, the universe be looking out.
Yes, yes, 100%. So I was just telling everyone that you have an incredible, amazing background. You're a journalist. You were working at Essence for 3 years, and you've had other ventures and other editorial positions that you've had and journalistic endeavors. And then now you're embarking on this incredible, like once in a lifetime opportunity. So I have a bunch of questions. I'm sure there are people in the comments that'll ask their questions. Some probably even submitted to be for the contest, submitted a chance to win in the contest. So I want, before we go into that, I want you to have a moment to kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. As I spoke to Krishan a few minutes ago before we came on, everyone, I am very much a journalist and I'm old school, and I will never get used to being interviewed and having to talk about myself. I'm 37 and I'm still shy when it comes to me talking about myself. So where can I start? I'm a journalist. I mean, through and through, I'm old school. I went to school for journalism. That's the career path that I've been on since even in high school. I was doing like newspaper stuff. But I think I moved to New York 10 years ago, and I started having signs of burnout and a lot of like just change of heart about my industry, about how I wanted to show up in my industry. And I think that kind of helped propel me on the path that I am on now. But before I even got into this experience, as Krishan mentioned, I was at Essence for a few years as a senior features editor. And I think last year for all of us, it was a lot. The
Mhm.
pandemic, the election, the racial uprisings. And on my beat, I had to cover a lot, even before George Floyd, a lot of police killings, a lot of politics, a lot of things like that. So that was like, that just pushed me in a different place where I kind of said, okay, I think it's time for a break. But before I even got to that point, I mean, I've worked, oh girl, I don't even know how do I even summarize all this? I've worked for Refinery 29, I've covered entertainment, both as a writer and an editor. I've worked for Glamour magazine. I've done a lot of media stuff. And I'm trying to think, like, if there's, I'm also always afraid of going on too much of a long-winded tangent about my career.
No, look,
So let me know, like,
we
let me
can
know.
do whatever we want.
So, so yeah, I think, I'm trying to think. I also had some health issues in, what was this, 2019. I was for a year and a half. It started in 2018, but I knew that I was having fibroid issues. And it took a year for me to get diagnosed because of our healthcare system and misdiagnosis. And I mean, I knew from jump because I had so many girlfriends who had to have fibroid, surgery, all of that, and we suffer from the same issues. And that also put me in a different headspace where I'm like, this is unreal. Like, it was a lot. And I think going through that and finally getting the surgery that I needed after telling so many doctors, like, this is what's wrong, this is what's up. After I had that surgery, there was a moment where I started to reflect on the fact that so many women around me, journalists, friends, we all have the same health issues, and that is not okay. That's not okay. So I also just started having a huge like, okay, I got to take a break. This is it snapped me out of that autopilot, that career, that grind. So going into 2020, before we even use the word pandemic outside of what, like, history and class as kids, I was planning to take a break. I was planning to take a sabbatical, and then pandemic hits, and you're just so grateful to just still be employed. So I continued, and last year was a crazy year. So, but all that said, I'm here. I started laying the groundwork, and yeah, this still feels surreal. I don't know if you can tell by the way I keep shaking my head every time I think about it, but I can't believe I'm in Spain right now, let alone this opportunity with Airbnb. But I definitely laid a lot of the ground, started subconsciously laying the groundwork to even be able to do this, like over a year ago. So 2 years. Yeah.
I had no idea that our paths would be so similar, and just hearing you speak. Because I too, around the same time, had fibroid issues, had a hysterectomy ultimately. And it was coming out of a period where it was a lot of fatigue, a lot of burnout,
Mm-hmm.
being on the hamster wheel. And it sounds like there's some similarities, but definitely let me know if this rings true for you or not. Is like when you're in it, yeah, it's almost like I didn't recognize what was actually going on. And then on some level I did, because I would see like the physical manifestations of it, whether it be, my uterus sticking out, or my skin
Not
having,
funny, but relatable.
you know,
Yeah.
like all of these issues, the lack of sleep, the irritability,
Yeah.
that, for me, it was drinking a little bit more than norm,
Yeah.
and just kind of, you know, talking myself into, oh, but you got to keep going because of whatever, insert X, people are depending on you, or you need to do this. And finally, I think it was definitely, for me, it felt like an act of self-love to say, okay, you know what? Enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the way that it kind of came to be was that I was in a different part of a company that was part had merged with another company, and I
Oh,
had the opportunity
going
to
through
get
that
out.
is even to us the most. So
Yes, I had never gone through that, and it was protracted. It was like 3 years, and so I had decided that, you know what is all of this worth if my health suffers, right? I can make a lot of money, sure, great, yeah. And the awards and stuff like that, yeah, okay, great. But at the end of the day, if I am a mess mentally, a mess physically, it doesn't matter
yeah,
because, Steve Jobs had all the money in the world and he couldn't buy his health.
yeah,
And so that was one of the ways that I was able to kind of put it all into perspective. But as you mentioned, making those brave decisions and steps laid the groundwork for what was to come for you, even in the midst of, as you mentioned, all of the civil unrest, all of the things that we, could not have predicted that was 2020. And then now created a situation where you're able to travel the world, and I'm sure, or I'm interested to know, give you some time to kind of unpack,
yeah,
all of those things and have a little bit of physical distance from it. But yeah, that's definitely rang true what you just said.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy how common that is, how normalized it is, and it just
Mhm.
that's never gonna it'll never sit right with me. And it was so wild when, without getting into too much of other people's business, when I was having a discussion with a group of Black women, and I kind of started talking about like, I like I'm seeing this doctor, I'm seeing this, and blah blah blah, and every one of them same issues, same issues. All of them had gone through it, so of course I'm getting the benefit is I'm getting feedback and like, okay, you got to do this, and you should do this. I got a specialist, you should see this person. But there was just a moment where I'm like, what? Why is this so normalized? Like, and
Yeah.
why is it happening to us in so many these big numbers? Because obviously working at Essence, I'm also very like we would cover things like that all the time. So of course, not just women's issues, but Black women's, like our issues, things that impact us the most and the deepest.
Mhm.
So it was just interesting to go through that at in that place of my life that I was at, and be able to step back and see how frequent it is, how normalized it is, and how it's this is not okay. But yeah, it was a privilege though to even go into 2020. I mean, it took a lot, but I was ready. I was like, I'm taking a break. I'm taking 3 months off. I'm gonna go travel. I'm gonna do this. And I mean, I had it laid out, but I mean,
What?
you know what I'm saying? Like, it was such a like, I'm ready. I don't care what happens. I don't care about any of this. Like, I love my career. I love, I appreciate my life. I appreciate my apartment that I have. But I was just like, done for now. Done for now.
Mhm.
I was gonna, hit that pause button. And then, the universe was like, actually, we're just going to drop a pandemic in the middle of everyone's life and make you feel grateful for what you have before you kind of think about tossing it away a little. So, but I was so done. I was very, very burnt out. Because as you discussed too, it's the way those health issues manifest themselves. It's
Mm.
not just, you know, let's get into it. It's not just long, crazy periods. It's
Yeah.
also, it's not just pain every single day. It's also being so exhausted, um, low energy,
Mhm.
irritable, and all of those things culminate. And for a lot of us, it culminates in depression. It triggers a lot of things, and it just adds layer on top of layer on top of layer until you're able to get treatment and go through recovery. So yeah, so it was a it was a crazy time, and I feel extremely fortunate, like I said, to even be in a position where I could do this. I would not
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to do this experience had I still been going through that. I wouldn't have even, I would have saw that link to this contest and just looked and said, huh, can't do that. And
You
it
know,
went back to watching,
like,
yeah, it went back to watching House Hunters or something. Like, it's just, you know, it's weird. It's so weird how things can kind of align for you without your knowledge, but just
Mhm.
because you put it out there,
Yes.
its manifestation is real. And I've been saying that, shouting it from the mountaintops to anyone. I've always felt like that, but I mean, this is manifestation on the highest level.
Oh,
So
yeah. You know,
for me,
and I love that you went there with that because, you know, I remember years ago when The Secret came out and some people dismissed it. Oh, it's so woo, you know, or I'm, you know, a believer in the science of mind. And that has been very transformative in my life and being able to manifest things and vision. And I've talked about it on the podcast. But, you know, you are the embodiment of that. You know, when you made that declaration that you're like, you know what, 3 months, this is what I want to do. I've mapped this out. And yes, you can't control for everything, like, you know, pandemonium that's been going on. But it was an opportunity for you to hit pause and at least be able to be an active participant
yeah,
in what the future and design of your life would be. And for many people that are watching, they were like myself, the Exodus Homecoming that Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow put on last week. And it was, you know, really leaning into Black women taking a sabbatical, leaving environments that no longer serve them or deserve them,
yes,
being able to, you know, hit the brake, push pause, and then, as I always say, live a life of design by design and not
yes,
by default.
huge.
So, for you, when you had that moment wherever you were and you saw this, I don't know if it was an ad or an article, like what was going on in the background for you?
I mean, like, so when I first saw it, and I mean, it's so many of my weird, random stories in my life begin with me it being in the middle of the night because I'm really a night owl. That's why I'm in Spain. That's why I chose Barcelona. I love being up at night. I get all my ideas. I feel free at night. And I was just, you know, in bed in my parents' home at 37 because I'd been sheltering in place with them for a year.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, like it was, yeah, I could get into all of the transitions that I made last year, and that really made this possible. But
Mm,
I kind of just saw it, and someone shared it in a Facebook group that I'm in, and you know, I saw it and thought, oh, this sounds kind of cool. You know, opened the link, read it, and was like, what is this real? And literally journalist background. I'm like, this is a scam, and kind of double check the link and kind of just whatever because it just seemed too good to be true.
yeah.
And there was definitely a moment where I was reading the details of what it would entail and all of
Mm,
that, and I kind of just thought, what, like this is too good to be true. This is too good, and it kind of freaked me out a little, and I definitely like paused and you know, like for maybe 30 minutes, an hour or something, and then kind of opened it back up on my phone, was like, let me just do this right now. And kind of just,
wow.
you know, like it just like 3 in the morning or something. And just the questions, oh, I can't remember what they were offhand, but there were two main questions. And, you know, one of them was just like, why would you want to do this? And I went, uh, word vomited my whole story about dealing with burnout and also just having this deep, strong desire to travel for my
Mm,
entire life. I mean, it's very deep. It's always been there, but I've just I don't want to say I haven't had the opportunity because I think opportunities are everywhere, but you have to be open to them and you have to look around. Your mind has to be right. But I'm pretty sure I wasn't seeing those opportunities being so burnt out for so long.
mm.
Um, but just kind of got into that, and yeah, and then like maybe a week, 2 weeks later, something like that. Because I also saw the link a couple days before the end of it. So
Really? Oh my gosh. Wow. The
yeah,
universe
I'm so sorry.
conspires in a way that we can't even explain.
I can't see any comments or anything. I don't know if any, but I'm so sorry. If you did sign up, and I'm so please. I'm doing this for all of us. Please.
There is some collective love, fan love
I
going
promise.
on
Like,
in here because, like, Phoenix Rising said that she applied.
oh my
She
God,
can't wait,
Phoenix.
but she said congratulations to you. So there is no envy here. We are all about the love.
Thank you, thank you. But I also think it's been humbling because there have been so many times where I'm talking to friends and I'm like, yo, like, did this happen? Like, why is this happening to me? And my homegirl was like, girl, enough. Like, it's happening because you clearly you deserve it. Take the opportunity, but shut up talking about like, are you? I don't want to hear it. And I was like, okay, dang, fine. All right. Let me accept this, like, gift. Let me accept this amazing thing and just shut up and put my focus on how to enjoy it and get the most out of it and just stop questioning why it happened. So Phoenix girl, I'm here. You're here with me right now. You're here.
We
Trust.
are in Barcelona, Spain, y'all. We are
Oh,
in
you are here.
Barcelona. We are together in Barcelona. So, what was it like, Marquita, when you said it was like one of the last days, you put your information in on your phone, and then how did they like let you know? It's like, is this like, I don't know. I mean, immediately what came to mind is like the publisher's clearinghouse.
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, like, how did that go?
so it was not like the publisher's clearinghouse. No one showed up with a big check that said, "Here's some Airbnb like money." I kind of just like a couple weeks later, and I had forgotten about it. Like
Mm.
I like when I just got an email. Like so many things these days, it just starts with an email like, "Hi, we loved your application pretty much, and you've been selected as finalist." And then I had to kind of go through a series of a few different interviews, and I had to submit a video, and yeah, I'd go through that process, and where I was for the most part saying, retelling the story that I had discussed in the application, and also just digging into like how passionate and interested I was in doing this, and why it was time. And I do remember, I can't remember everything I wrote. It is somewhere. It's somewhere deep in my notes app, because obviously I had to write my responses out first in my notes app, make sure there are no like crazy spelling errors. But I do remember the first line that I wrote. It was like, I'm 37. I'm a single person. I'm finally like, I'm in great health. Now is the time. Now is the time. Today. There's no other time like the present. Yeah, it's just the phrase "now's the time" has lingered in my mind for over a year. There's this,
Mm.
not to get on too much of a hippie tangent because I do that sometimes, but when I moved home with family, I got this. I was in my childhood bedroom. It was weird. It was a weird feeling. I was grateful, but I got this little this replica of one of my favorite Basquiat paintings, and it has the phrase "now's the time" in it. So it just
Mm.
forced me to look at the phrase "now is the time" every single day for over a year, and just that kind of mental, like I'll do things like that. Everybody sometimes they what do you call it? Why is it escaping me right now? The memory. Oh, why can lost for words.
No worries.
Vision boards. Ugh.
Yes.
A lot of us, like, I do believe in that, but I also believe in just little triggers. Affirmations written on the mirror and post-its, and just certain phrases that I know I need to keep telling myself every day. And yeah, now is the time. So
Yeah, I love that. So that has been your mantra to get you to where you are today. So
very
let so what are, so we got to the point where, you found out and everything. And so how much lead time do they give from the, hey, you've been selected to, hey, time to go?
Well, I think, oh, it's crazy how quickly time has flew by, which I'm sure you've gathered from our email exchanges. I was just like so scattered for about a month. So about a 5. Okay, we could start planning, or we could start leaving September 1st,
Mm,
and we had to have started our journey by the end of September. And I had, I believe, kind of about 6 weeks maybe from the time I found out. I had a family trip like with my mom and my brother to like Yellowstone, like just to get out and get some air, get out of Michigan. That's where I was based
mhm.
with family. And so I couldn't, and that was like the beginning of September. So I just said, okay, I'm going to leave like 14 days after that trip in case I get COVID. And I got to, it was because also if we didn't leave by that time, then we could get disqualified. So,
Oh, okay.
and I'm sure, like, God forbid anyone um, get sick or get COVID during this experience. But I'm sure if something like that happened, they
Mhm.
probably would have been more lenient about that because of the times. But
Yeah.
we did have to leave by a certain time,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was, girl, I also had a New York trip, and I found, no, the announcement of the Airbnb thing went out when I was in New York for the first time. It was on my year anniversary of leaving, and I just remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, what if I get sick? What if I get sick?" It was that, because I'm like, I don't want any. It's too good to be true. Something is going to happen. That's what we do. It's like,
Mm.
so I kept. That was just. I found out, and then for several weeks, it was just stay healthy, take your vitamins, do what you got to do, sanitize. Just it
Yeah.
was. I'm sure, like, my family was so tired of me, just over me.
I was gonna ask, like, I saw, like, I follow you on the gram, and so I saw your trip with your family. Like, what did they think? Like, when you told them, like, "Hey, that break I was, planning, and now it looks like it's gonna happen in 2021, and I'm going
Yeah.
to be traveling."
So, my mom, when I told her, I didn't tell anyone that I applied for it because it was a quick, you're like, okay, I'm gonna just do
Yeah,
this.
people enter contests all the time. You don't put out press
Yeah,
releases.
no. But I found out that I got that when I first got contacted and found out that I was a finalist. I thought, oh my gosh, I want to tell everyone. Then I said no, like, just don't tell anybody. I'll tell my mom. I'll tell my mom. I'll tell, like. So I told my mom, and the first thing out of her mouth is, "I saw that. I was gonna send that to you." And I said, "What?" I said, "What do you mean you didn't? Why didn't you send it?" And then I looked. I'm like, "You want me to stay here forever, don't you?" And she kind of started laughing, like, "You okay?" But she was like, they're so supportive. They've always.
Oh,
I love and appreciate my family so much. They're everything to me, and they're always excited. Especially my parents with their daughter's random journey in New York, and lived in London for a minute, and all of that. And they were just extremely supportive and just so happy. It's so fun to have something happy, to just enjoy. And I
yeah,
remember thinking, even if I didn't get, this, even if I was just a finalist, I felt transformed
yeah,
because it confirmed, like, okay, you just don't know what can happen. You can't plan everything. And that doesn't always mean, that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes, like, you can't plan the good stuff. Yeah. So it was a wonderful, like, happy kind of time. And yeah. Yeah. And of course everybody's like, yo, so, when you get to this place, or if you go here, like, can I come through? Like,
I was gonna ask that question.
it, the people that we like I can't just have someone come and travel with me now throughout. They would have had to apply, and
Yeah.
because there are families and couples that are experiencing this as well.
Yeah.
But we are allowed to, like, if I want a friend to come and stay for a week somewhere, we can do that. Now we're gonna have to pay a little extra. That's gonna take money out of my credits. But yeah, it's allowed. Of course, I'm not going to abuse it, but I definitely have a couple of. I do want my parents to come toward the end of this experience and like to be able to enjoy something. I got a couple friends where I'm hoping, depending on where I am for next year, because I think people will also feel more, willing to travel in a
Mhm.
few more months. I think so. Now it's just kind of me hanging out, figuring it out, and
Yeah, settling in. I
yeah,
know we've been
settling
emailing, and then
in.
I'm
Yeah,
just like, "Just rest, like, relax." You can really, like, take it that was a big thing for me. It was like, when you first of all, when you were like, "Hey, that's me." And then and being so, willing to share your story with us. And then, my first thing was like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is like a whole big life change. You've gotta, like, settle in. Like, you
yeah,
tell me when
yeah,
was a good time because
yeah,
my
yeah. It was,
timeline is not important. It's more important that you are, like,
no.
feeling, what you need to feel, experiencing what you need to
Yeah,
experience. And definitely I'm a firm believer in, you give from your overflow. And so,
I
particularly
love that.
when you come from, phases of life where you've experienced burnout to, leaning into abundance, it is
Yes,
really important to keep that in the forefront to as much as possible, not only for yourself, but when you're interacting with others. That's something I firmly believe. So I don't want to skip over some excitement that's going going on.
I wish I
And
could say that, but I can't. But
yeah, no, this is great. We have Phoenix saying it's all good, sis. Your win is a win for the collective.
thank
Thank you
you,
for that energy.
thank you.
Yes, and Junique, I'm glad that a Black woman won. Congrats. Yes, love Barcelona.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
thank you, Jeanette.
yes. Angela, we're celebrating collective wins around these parts. Amen to that.
Amen,
Yes.
amen, amen, amen. Thank you,
So
guys.
Monica wants to know, do you get to pick where you go? That is a burning question.
That is a great question. We do get to choose. Now there's budget. I won't get into all the specifics, but there is a
Don't need to
budget.
know.
It is not like, it's within reason. It's reasonable, but one of the reasons, I mean, I have wanted for so long to visit Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria. Like I want that experience for this so much, but I'm also very hesitant because of with this experience because of the vaccine numbers, and I don't know. I just want to go and feel free and be able to spend a few months there as opposed to obviously a month there with on Airbnb would be great, but I have a feeling I might end up pushing that back and doing it
Mm,
for myself, and I want to do it with someone. I want a family
yeah,
member, but I'm on a tangent. You did not ask me about all of that. I very much can choose where I want to go. We all can. Um, and after speaking with a lot of the other participants periodically, like some of us were always like DMing on Instagram.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's fun. A lot of us are just kind of being more cognizant of the restrictions that are in place now with travel because of COVID.
Mm,
And so many of us are also choosing, we're choosing from a place of, health concerns in the event something does happen. Uh, for me, I knew that because I'm a Black woman traveling solo, it was and coming out of pandemic, all the anxiety built up over a year. I knew that I wanted to be in cities where I could kind of plug myself back into the world and just start to kind of like feel some good energy again, but also, God forbid anything happen. Um, I can find someone who speaks English because my
Mhm.
language skills are trash right now, which I've been reminded during this experience. My Spanish is I thought it was popping. It is not.
Oh, no.
It is not.
You got humbled.
Yes, real quick. And the thing is, I had visited Barcelona in '07 as a student, as a college student, and I was coming from London, and I don't want to shade London, but it was not my happy place.
Mm.
And and it was Barcelona. When I came here, it was just like the clouds parted, and it was nothing but like the light of God just shining. It just I was so happy. It was a happy trip. I needed it because I mean I had went through like 6 or 7 months of just like rain and clouds in London and crazy life experiences in London as
Mm.
well that were humbling. And I just knew that I always wanted to return for a few weeks. And so I said, as soon as I found out about this, I said, okay, I know Barcelona is my first stop. And then next, I'm going to go to Portugal. I'm going to do Lisbon in a couple weeks, which I'm excited about too.
Yes, I'm planning to go in April. I'm going to do my scouting trip.
I noticed that we were talking about that, and yeah, and I'm so excited. But
Oh my
you got
gosh.
some travel going on. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna see each other face to face at some point.
I think I'm going to make sure that happens.
So yes, we get to choose our places. That is, even though we can choose it, it is kind of loaded because there's a lot to consider depending on your travel situation, how you're budgeting, because we're also budgeting. I picked a lovely Airbnb. It's at a good rate, but I also am like, okay, I think I want to do something less because I'd much rather be able to use some of that money to take like long weekend trips or just different things like that. So,
Yeah.
but this was very much, I wanted this to be my first trip and to feel like I'm anchored and to kind of ease back out into things. So,
Wow. So do you how long do you stay in each destination? Do you have to like move month from month to month, or how does that work?
so we have to stay in each destination for at least 4 weeks.
Mm.
But also depending on where you're from in the world, the visa situation, it was just budget friendly, and also because of the uh, vaccine access, all of that, it was just easy for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna just plot myself in Europe. And I hadn't been here since I think I went to Paris in like 2019. But all of my little trips, they're like 3-4 days. It's never like a chunk of time. So yeah, we have to be in each place for about 4 weeks, and we can also be there longer. We can, depending on how long we can stay in a country. So,
Got it.
we some of them might choose to be in a place for maybe 3 months, but I think the most I want to do is maybe 6 weeks. That's what I think. I want quality, but I do want quantity too. I want to bounce around. I'm like a kid in a candy store, an adult.
Right? Literally, you're like, I'll take this country for 4 weeks.
Yes. But there is a lot to be concerned about because because of COVID, and it's real out here. It's still real out here, and there's different guidelines for different countries, different regulations, and it's a lot to navigate. You can navigate, you can do it, but you just have to be extremely cautious. So I'm also just being as aware of all of that changing as possible.
Yeah, because it does. It changes on a dime. I'm constantly posting in the group either, this country's reopening or this country has delayed it, or, I was listening to my update today. Australia is now considering opening up. I mean, it's very fluid. So even the best laid plans, are subject to change because of, the pandemonium.
Pomegranate says this pomegranate is
I like that pomegranate.
I'm tired. I'm let us release us. And I'm also because of all of the, I think, anxieties around planning, I just decided I'm only going to plan out one trip at a time. So after
Mm,
Lisbon, when I get to Lisbon, I'll figure out what's next. So
got it.
yeah.
Wow. So what is it like, I know you said that you had been before, but this time around you're in this busy part. I know you mentioned before we came on of Barcelona and taking it all in. Like I said, I follow you on the gram and kind of see what you're doing during the day. But, for those people who haven't, talk a little bit about that part.
So I, like I said, I immediately knew I wanted to start here on this journey just because of that. I'm a water sign. I'm a big Pisces. I'm a hippie.
I'm a Cancer. I get it.
So there was very much like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. 95% of the time, so many of our choices have to be, or we feel that they have to be of mind and not heart. So I said, you know what? I'm going to the place where that resonated with me some years ago. And I selected an Airbnb on like the most popular tapas street in all of Barcelona. And I won't get too specific, but I knew it was gonna be, knew it was gonna be a lot, but I also just wanted to feel like I was back out into the world. I had been in the suburbs for over a year, a little over a year. I miss my neighborhood in Harlem. I miss Uptown. I miss that energy. And I wanted to feel energy as soon as I hit the door. And it was the right decision. But it was definitely a lot I didn't know that I had built up a lot of anxiety, but it makes sense. It was hard, like the first week, because I was not used to just being around crowds and hordes of people. And mind you, like people are, they're wearing their masks and there's sanitizer everywhere, but like they are out here enjoying life, and there's so many bars, but it's not like, I feel like if we think about this as like Americans, the first thing you're going to think is a street with a bunch of bars and restaurants. Oh, girl, no. That means drunken people on the street. That means frat boys, not like that. There's so many, like kids are out until midnight. There's just people that are just, they're just enjoying themselves. If I open up, it's so loud now, but I can close it. I wanted that. When I go to sleep, I don't hear it. It's way in the bag. But I love working at night, and I open up these big shutters and I just hear like, the white noise of people just laughing and enjoying themselves. And, they're just out. They're eating good. Everything is so delicious.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Yeah, it's that. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted that feeling. I wanted, so in a way, I think it's some like the effects of like being away from New York for a little while. And, but it was hard. Like I definitely had, and I mentioned this earlier to you before we came on, I had a light panic attack, y'all. Like I hadn't had anything like that happen before, but the second night I was here, I walked into a bar, for my first night out, and flying solo, speaking my terrible Spanish, and I'm like, I'm gonna just get a drink and I'm gonna get a tapas, whatever. Y'all, somebody coughed on me, and when I tell you, my body just like, it just tensed up, and I had to leave because I started like, it was a panic attack, and I kind of stood outside for a minute. And I think when you are traveling alone, there's things like that also happen where maybe if I was with a friend, that friend, we could have just sat inside, and because I'm solo, I'm like, I'm gonna just go home. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm gonna collect myself. I'm gonna get a bottle of water, and I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna do what I have to do, and not feel pressured to do anything and work and be on my own timeline. So now I'm good. Knock on wood.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. And
there's still a lot of there's still some COVID fears, but I've been out I've met people and on tours and hung out with them, and it's been lovely. It's been amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better first time out, and it's yeah.
Yes, yes. And then we have Shar, who is expat app, Expat Inc. Shar was on the Blaxit Global podcast this season. And
Yes,
she's
yes.
in Lisbon, so you ladies should connect.
Oh
And
no,
she
we
does her
connected.
expat chats because I love me some Shar, girl. So
Start too, and I don't
yes.
even know her yet, but we've connected over online.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
I
So
love
yes.
her. And I thank you. I try to keep it very 100. So but I think that needed to happen. It's like
Mm,
these are the effects of um the experience. We've been traumatized,
absolutely.
all of us as a collective, for over a year, in different ways and different strengths and levels. But you have to figure out a way to plug yourself back into things, and you have to do it on your own pace and your own rhythm. So that's the
Amen to that. Because
yeah.
I'm getting ready to go in a few weeks to Costa Rica for my exploratory, and yay! And this will be my first time going to Costa Rica, and it's also going to be really my first time doing a solo trip since 2018.
Okay.
And so, although I went to Paris as well in 2019 to visit my friend for a long weekend. But this one is like, it's different where, I'm like literally by myself. And it's like trying to learn how to ride a bike all over again
You'll
because
be fine, girl.
I'm like
I had so much
forgetting all this stuff, like, oh my gosh. And, because
it is a lot, but you'll figure it out.
it's so like it's overwhelming in a way, right? But I think like you're right. It's starting to come back. Like I picked out my Airbnb. I finalized the remainder of my trip. But it's all those things that I kind of learned, and then 2020 was like full stop. So
Yes.
it's just like, oh, wait a minute, like, oh, I need to register for this, and then it's like
Yeah.
relearning. But it's its own set of experiences. And so this is a great question from Angela. So where can we follow your travels?
So, I have my personal Instagram. It's just my name, Marquita underscore Harris underscore, on Instagram. But in an effort to really just share more freely and all the time, and I created a burner account, so to speak, and that is at home for a little while. So
Oh,
the
I
name of that
love
the
that.
name of that account, without getting into too much, because I don't want to be long-winded and like bore you guys. Speaking of manifestation, in fall of last year, before all of this happened, I had just knew that I wanted to be more of a digital nomad. I had been
Mm,
so exhausted and tired of corporate spaces, and just for a little while, So I kind of created this in my head. I'm like, if I'm going to commit to this for a little bit, I want to know how to make different places home for a little while. So eventually, I'm going to document this. So I went on Instagram, almost the way I kind of randomly did the Airbnb contest link, whatever, created that handle, and it's been dormant ever since. It
wow.
hasn't been used. Manifestation, y'all. Like, that account was literally created over a year ago for an experience that I'm getting now that I would have never even imagined.
Wow.
So yeah, there's nothing on it yet. I just announced it to everyone. I think last night I was having a moment, and I'm like, I need to just start putting stuff on this account. And so you can follow me at home for a little while, where I'll be sharing much more of my travels, and yeah. So please
Yeah,
follow. Say what's
follow,
up.
follow. Oh my gosh. And I love the name. And then, like you said, it was like you had that moment, you put it out there, but now you have like so much use for it. So, do
Yeah.
you see, we talked about your journalistic background, and home for a little while. Do you see like Instagram being the main place that you're documenting your travels, or do you see a podcast or a YouTube channel? Any tips for anybody who might have either of those properties or both?
Tips from you. So I was doing my podcast under the Essence umbrella, which was amazing. I'm
Yes,
so grateful.
unbossed.
I'm so grateful for it. And also those interviews, if you listen closely, like you'll see a lot of the conversations veered toward burnout. It
Yes.
was, and a lot of women, they are. And that those conversations definitely gave me a lot of fuel and, whatever, to be like, okay, this is the problem and I'm going to have to fix it myself and yeah,
Mm.
take some risks. So, um, I actually would love to do another podcast, but I don't know if like there's so many things that have been bouncing around in my head, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't just thrust myself back into a grind, doing something because I feel
Mhm.
like I have to do it. Because the beauty of this amazing experience is I can kind of go at my own pace, choose where I want to go, and yeah, and figure out how I want to document it. And the idea of pre-planning a lot of interviews and doing like I am actually working. I am working. I'm working from home a lot, and I'm editing on the side for some publications pretty frequently and steadily because I'm not rich. The money can't
Yes.
stop,
Yes.
right? But also like there's a certain kind of I wanted to go into this with a clean slate
Mm.
first. And I also feel like this is an amazing opportunity for me to test out like if this is something I could do on my own later, in some in some Airbnbs that are a little less price, but I want to definitely investigate more of being a digital nomad and what that experience is for not just me but for other
Mhm.
people, because at the end of the day I'm always going to be interested in storytelling and telling other people's stories and all of that. So, did I answer that question?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it leads right into the next one, which was, um, you know, as you start to think about going to these places, and and let me know if this is right. There are places that you've wanted to travel to and experience, and obviously you have to take in other considerations. But then, to your point, you also want to experience what it's like to live as a digital nomad. So is that part of like your decision tree as you're looking at places and spaces, places that you may want to spend a longer period of time at a future date and be a digital nomad, or even using this time in part to build up, those experiences and those connections to then propel you into a digital nomad lifestyle?
So it's for the most part, the first part, what you said is very much on point.
Mm,
But the second part, I think there are going to be places where, and I'm learning where it's going to be a little easier to connect with people in an organic way than others. And something that I did have to realize is like people are still in their own bubbles. They're still not, they might be out on the streets, but they are very much contained and, they're to themselves. So there's not as many kind of big social gatherings where, you're immediately meeting a lot of different people
mm,
because it does take a lot of effort and it does take time to establish those connections.
yeah.
But I'm definitely, I'm up for the challenge. I'm hoping when I go to Lisbon, I'm gonna see Shar.
Yes, 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 because Shar is the plug. Shar, I hit up Shar and I'm like, Shar, I'm thinking of coming to January. You know what? I think I'm going to be April. Let's go. She put
Yeah,
me, Shar is the plug. She is the
yeah.
woman, Shar.
It's like I love that app too. It's been really, really wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of, the whole collective, really, community, is that, we share information, we share resources and opportunities, and it really is those connection points that just and I think I mentioned in another live, right? It's the cheat code so that you don't have to spend time, searching and getting in this like endless circle, that you're able to then, kind of cut through, get to where you have to get that much faster,
Yeah.
hopefully saving time and money in the process. And then
Yes.
more importantly, getting support, right? So that you're not like in this thing like, oh, where do I go? Who do I talk to?
Yeah.
Is this person legit? There are people and experiences and things that have like been vetted and things like that. So yes, so Shar is saying yes, yes, Lisboa is all good.
I
Yes,
know.
girl.
First and foremost, let me stop saying Lisbon. Let me say Lisboa.
Yes, right. You have to say it
We absolutely,
properly.
I gotta add a little sauce on that. See, if my Spanish has been terrible, you already know my Portuguese is not up to par. But yeah, so and I definitely have been in a space where I knew that this first trip was going to be kind of testing the waters to see just how I am in this environment. As a solo traveler, at going through this, I wanted to get a natural feel for my rhythm. Like,
Mm,
that's something I think about all the time. Like, we all have our own rhythm of life and the pace that I think is natural to us, and I wanted it to feel like a natural pace. The last thing I wanted to do was go into this and attack it like, like it's another job, like I have done in
mm.
the past. That would undo a lot of the rest that I've been doing, and like, all burnout recovery that I've been intentionally subjecting myself to over like the past year. So
Mhm.
so yes, I actually would love to do another podcast, but it's just a matter of like just things aligning, and
Yeah.
I'm figuring out what that's going to be, and also packing and for this experience is so tough because
I bet.
I don't know where I'm gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Like after 6 months. And for clarity, we are pretty much broken down, or the experience is broken down into 5 month stints. So technically, we're traveling for about 10 months. And after the first 5 months, we actually do have the opportunity to opt out, to be like, you know what? Actually, I kind of need to get back to my real life. Or actually, because it is a huge blessing, but there's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot going
Mhm.
on in the world. People are also traveling with children and all of that. But I've kind of just been thinking, I know because I'm here, I'm gonna spend 90 days in Europe, in the Schengen, that area, because of the visa restrictions.
Yeah.
Um, and after that, like, I know I want to spend a chunk of time in Mexico early next year for the next
Yay.
5 months, definitely Mexico City. And so there's places in my mind that I know I really want to go to. But yeah, so much of this experience is wonderful because it's making me not be a type A planner.
Mm.
And I think I need that experience. I need to just be present and to like, yeah, figure it out, as opposed to planning first and then letting my plans adhere to that thing. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah.
first. And that's, yeah. So I don't know. I would love to do another podcast, but it just depends on a lot of different factors. So
Yeah. No, I mean, look, from experience, it's been a year.
I bet. I
And
bet.
I love doing the podcast. Definitely I love it.
It
It's just a
shows.
lot of work. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad that at least I had the forethought in the upfront to design it and deliver it in a way that is sustainable,
Yeah.
and that, I think, you've listened, people on here have listened. I do 10, maybe 11 episodes, and then I take like a 2-month break. It
Yeah.
may be longer as I get closer to my Blaxit, because I have obviously like trips I have to
Gotta
plan and
life.
things I have to
Yeah.
do. But I did not want to get into the weekly. I didn't want to get into, twice a week as some podcasters do, or have never ending seasons, because it goes back to my comment earlier about being able to refill my cup.
Yeah.
And You know, I'm an independent podcaster. I don't have
Yes, you are.
sponsors,
And
you know.
also, like, I had, and I'm fortunate. It was a small team, and when I did the podcast at Essence, it was very much my idea, and I did that to myself, but I'm glad I did. But it was a whole other job on top of a very big job of being
Mm,
an editor, and I'm so grateful for that. But it was a lot. I don't think people appreciate how much work, especially like when you're doing that by yourself. It's
yes.
like,
It's like,
I mean,
find the
truly,
guest, book the guest, talk to the guest,
yeah,
figure it out,
yeah,
do the thing,
yeah.
get it edited. Like,
It's a lot. So I
it is.
commend you. I commend you because I did not do it solo. I had like two producers, and like and they knew how to do a lot of little things that I didn't. I could focus on a lot of the research, the hosting, the booking, all that stuff. Um, yeah. So I mean, keep going. Clearly, like,
So,
you don't need me to tell you, but like, it's amazing. It's so inspiring, and also you have a community, and I think that's one of the biggest, most amazing gifts you can give, I think, in media. Doing something where a
mhm.
community is built and inspired around it. So please, like, if you haven't, pat yourself on the back. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, don't be shy.
I will accept the flowers.
But it really, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's inspiring. I'm telling you. There were a couple of podcasts that I would listen to last year, like, religiously, and that was a part of my, I think, another way to do a vision board. In a way, there's just,
Mm,
I get in a mindset, and I'm like, even it's subconscious, and I start to surround myself with things, think music, things that I listen to, podcasts, even people that may not understand what my vision, or may not support what I want to do, they kind of slowly get pushed out. I slowly don't, you got to do that. You have to. But you were part of that. You made this
oh,
happen. You're part of that. Like,
I'm very flattered. I'm blushing like crazy because it is a labor of love.
yeah,
I love the podcast as I get closer to my journey in 2023, and I've shared it. You know, we've exchanged emails. You know, the Facebook group is starting to come to a close, and I'm hoping that people will join Blaxit Global Passport, where that will be off the Facebook platform because of talk that nauseum about just being able to have spaces that we don't feel policed and things like that. And that's what I love about creating a new space and a new community. And also, what I also love about the community that Shar has built, with the expat app, and being able to have an app, a place, a destination that wherever you are in the world, we can
fine.
connect with one another. That is really, that ownership piece is very important.
Yeah.
And also, as I envision for me what the future will be and where that fits into my life, you mentioned you're 37. I got you by a decade. And so, as I look and think about, okay, well, my journey abroad, what will it be? I want to make sure that everything that is in it is supporting my life,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm not now recreating something else that I wanted to leave. And
Yeah.
I see that sometimes with other people in the space. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, and people have different perspectives. And oftentimes, to your point earlier about burnout, you either hear them talk specifically about instances where they experience burnout, maybe from a corporate career, but then also in their new life as an entrepreneur.
Definitely. Oh my God, I
And
used to hear about
that
that
is like, whoo.
all the time. And yeah, yes, that is why I think it's so important to, if you can, it is a privilege, a huge privilege to do this. That I don't take for granted. But if you can hit pause,
Mhm.
if you can just, save up whatever kind of money that you need and take a legitimate break. I don't mean a long weekend in Turks and Caicos. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking. I mean, like, take at least like a month off,
Mhm.
kind of breathe, first breathe, first get out of the patterns and the habits and that flow that you were in, because it takes a while to get away from that. You will bring, can I curse? Can I
Yeah,
curse?
go for it.
You will bring the same shit that you have
Hello.
to the next. And it will be all that work that you've done, all that pivoting, all that, those, that laboring that you've done, it will be in vain. And you have
Yes.
to hit pause. And I think, like, even with this experience, that is why, and it's been very hard, but that's why, because I have to keep working. I got student loans, I got bills, I got expenses.
Mhm.
Um, that is why, like, I kind of had to rethink how I wanted to work. I
Mm.
knew that I was going to be on a tight budget, because I didn't, what was the point of me experiencing all this travel and working like a whole week? So I knew that I was going to very much be freelancing and all of that, because I've been working hard to deal with this burnout. And
Mhm.
this is an amazing, once in a lifetime experience. And no way in the world I was going to let that burden, land on top of this. So,
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's so real. So it's so easy to bring those same patterns with you. So hit pause. Hit
Yes.
can. That's the do
I
what you
think
gotta do. Yeah.
I think it's so easy for many of us that, especially when you come from the States, especially as Black women, where we have this, and I think a lot of it comes from a positive place, Black excellence and things like that. But
Definitely.
I think the undercurrent of that, at least from my personal experience, has been, the drive, of course, but then also I think some of the tapes that play in the background can be counterintuitive and keep you driving even when you don't have to. So I think it's learning when is enough.
Yeah.
And the life, at least my experience, and as I think about my why and what do I want to get out of my journey, is really gifting myself with this opportunity to think and be very deliberate about the life that I want, and to not build it. So I'm paying more attention, and maybe that's the wrong way of looking at it, but paying more attention to the things that I don't want it to morph into, because this way, as I start to see things, and there has been even times as I've done Blaxit Global where I've like gotten into a space where I'm like, whoa, 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 like it's spiraling out of control. My calendar's looking a hot mess. Like, and then I have to say, okay, after this, then I'm shutting it down. So case in point, I'm going to Costa Rica, as I mentioned, in a few weeks, and I am going to document part of that. And but as I started to think about like what I'm going to do during that time there, I realized like this isn't a it's a vacation in a sense, but it's not a vacation. Like this is my
Research.
time to be like,
Research.
hi
Research.
y'all.
Yes, this is research. This is
Your
like
girl is tapping out. You might get a live, you might get a podcast episode or something impromptu, but I'm putting the oxygen mask on
that's right.
myself.
That's
And
right.
I'm saying, "Ooh." You know what I mean? Because it is, burnout is real, and so it is being able to be, yes, I'm grateful for the community and the listeners and everything, but I also want to be a model, right? Like being giving information on becoming a digital nomad, or paying your taxes, and all the things that I create, and work with and collaborate with wonderful people like yourself. These are all things that also are things that, okay, when I'm doing this, I'm not doing X,
Definitely.
Y, and Z. And so it's making sure that there's a balance there. And so for someone who's getting inspired and wants to do, go and embark on their journey or create something similar, right?
Yeah.
It's just being able to kind of lean in and model that, and also be transparent enough to share the realities that come along with the journey, the days where, it's great. And then
Yeah.
there's days where, someone says something snide or you get a nasty gram or a comment or whatever, and just being able to take your licks and keep on moving. And so that's, as I look at 2022, which is around the corner, it's about to get real. You know what I mean?
Real. And I think so many of us are having these feelings that were triggered by the pandemic,
Mm,
and it takes a while to make change. I think that's also something to take into account. So I predict that, obviously a lot of people have been making changes here and there. You hear about it, you're hearing the studies about burnout and people not returning to the workplace and all that. But I really do think next year, like, it's going to continue. And I don't know, if you have the opportunity to hit pause, to take yourself out, to do a research trip, even if it's a sliver of an opportunity, just take it, because you
do
really
it.
don't know.
Do
You
it.
don't know what the future holds. You really don't know. And that's why it's such a cliche, but that's also why, like, so many people talk about the importance of being present, because you can't keep living in the future and you can't keep living in the past either. But when things happen, when that opportunity comes, you have to take it, and you have to just, yeah,
Absolutely.
you have to do it. So,
Yes, life is short. Life is short. I want to make sure I jump back in the comments because there's so much love. Definitely a lot of people have just followed followed you.
oh,
And
thank you so much. And I feel like, so it's warm in Barcelona, but it's cool at night. And because of the sound, because, like the clinking of plates and laughter and all that is like so loud, I close the windows. So I am like oily, y'all. So let me just do this real quick.
no, go for it because you're a little pixelated, at least on my end. It might just be all the goodness that's happening outside.
I would be sitting. I mean, I only could pack so much, so I didn't think my little my little tank top was really appropriate for this. And the last thing I want is,
Free zone.
so I had and wanted to put a little color on. I don't regret this decision, but in case you see me, like, my hair is starting to get bigger and like we get a little oily. That's why. So, but I'm good.
Like I said, right now
I
you're just a little pixelated right now, but it's all good. We're gonna go with it.
just had to do a little that, do a little that.
Yes. So Damone, right? This is my brother. He says Spanish is a beautiful language, and my brother speaks great Spanish,
Like,
which
teaching.
is so good because I took it in school for like I don't know 8 years, and my Spanish is terrible. And my
Yeah.
brother is self-taught, and he is amazing at it. Shout out
Wait,
to you, bro. I
self
love you.
talk. Self talk. Can you bring him into the chat? Can you bring him up?
I'm like,
How do you do
the
that?
moon right will take over this whole thing because he is just that amazing.
I'm
I
so
love you,
serious.
big
I'm like,
bro.
how? Like, it's crazy. I used to, when I was much younger, long story short, I have a sister. Technically, she's a half sister, but whatever. And she's from Honduras, and I grew up with her for a period of time, and she could only speak Spanish. She spoke no English. My family, we did not speak Spanish. So that experience, it definitely changed me as a kid. I think I had to be like 10, 11, something like that. And I was able to pick it up from her so quick because they're so young and impressionable, and but it also definitely helped formulate my worldview at a young age. And all of that said, yeah, that information was not retained over the years at 37. And I took Spanish when I was younger in high school and all that, but I thought it would return because in 2007, when I came to Barcelona, it returned. And I was like,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
it felt good. It was good enough, but like now, and this was so crazy and humbling for me to believe. I'm like, wow, I'm at that age where it's like, if you don't use it, you don't lose it. That's the
For
truth.
real, because I'm on Duolingo every day, brushing up on my Spanish for this, and then I'm starting to dabble a little bit with Portuguese in preparation for that trip, and But and not to go on a tangent, but the way we learn language and are taught languages in the US versus, you obviously are in the midst of this experience. You go to other countries and people speak their native language, English, and usually something else in addition. And
Right.
here
We
we
just,
barely
yeah,
get English, right? So
barely.
um, it puts us, especially as we are a global world and a global economy, it definitely puts us at a disadvantage, particularly on the world stage as we interact with different people, as people start to, hopefully as things start to open up, migrate a bit more. But I think, at least for me, that is one of the things that I'm most excited about as I think about like my futuristic journeys, is being able to afford the time to, entrench and immerse myself and not get, because I have, like, when I went to France, and I talked about it on the podcast episode with my friend Marsha, and I did the typical American thing. I did not think I was going to do it, and then I did it. I was
What
like,
you
I
do?
don't have to brush up. Well, I was like, I don't have to know any French. Marsha's gonna be there. Like, she'll speak for me. And she did.
But
But after a couple hours, it was like, wait a second. Like, I felt left out. Not that she ever made me feel that way, but it was,
no, you feel you don't know what people are saying.
yeah,
There's
I couldn't
languages.
contribute.
Yeah, it's so important.
Mhm.
It's communication. It's also so easy to misunderstand mannerisms and
Mm,
things like that in a different place if you don't speak the language, because
yeah.
you might, especially as like, we don't realize how distinctly different our mannerisms are in different places, and
Mhm.
um, it's just, yeah, it's important. It's so important to have a grasp of something, but
Yeah,
that shouldn't stop you. If anything, that should just motivate
absolutely.
you, to pick something up, and
Absolutely.
also to get out of your comfort zone, but and visit a place, but also know that you're going to be uncomfortable, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Maybe you need that to push you to learn something. I One of the reasons why I did pick Barcelona as my starter place was also because I knew there's a lot of English speakers here. Everyone has also spoken English, and most of the time when I am um, when I'm trying to speak my Spanish, and I'm saying my Spanish because it's distinctly mine. It's a little unique sometimes. Somebody will be like, they'll just speak to me in English. It's just like, oh, girl, just stop, just stop. Let me just tell you, you want a latte? You want a latte? It's that. And I'm just like,
Oh my gosh.
but I used to have like, I mean, ace my Spanish, all of that. But
Wow.
it's just regrets. I've got a few, and one of them is definitely not sticking to languages. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I actually picked, because everybody was in the culture and there was a climate of Zoom classes. I did a brush up Spanish one course earlier this year. I didn't even say that.
Oh, wow.
Manifestation. And all this manifestation,
Yes,
all this,
yes.
oh, I'm lucky that I did it, because I can hear better. Like, I'll hear things and I can pick up on that. It's just like, it's just speaking it. I gotta,
Yes.
like, yeah, get back into that. So, but again, that
Yeah.
was my manifestation. So it's real.
Exciting. I think it's so exciting to have this opportunity and afford yourself the ability to have these experiences, to pick up different languages and even expose yourself to different languages. I think just, in terms of the brain, like, your senses awaken when you're dropped into a new environment versus
Yes.
like doing the day-to-day status quo. And so I'm sure that as you continue to embark and have these incredible adventures in these different countries and meeting different people, that you are going to be the person you are today a year from now is going to be completely different. And I can't wait to like even catch up with you at that point and just see how much, has changed and evolved over time.
Well, yeah, I certainly hope so. So, but yes, I already feel just going through this experience it's been so transformative, and I can't stress that enough. it's just affirming. It's so affirming, and when you put things out and they come back. And the power of rest. Power
Mhm.
of rest. It's a, and I've said it a few times, but I just feel extremely privileged to even be in a position to do this. I would not have been able to do this if I was still living in New York. I would
Mm.
not have been able to do this. I wouldn't have chosen to do this if I, at the time, if I hadn't already committed to like freelancing. And I can't tell you how many times I said no to some amazing job opportunities. We didn't even get into that, but opportunities that my younger self, even a couple years ago, where I would have been like, what? And I
Yeah.
said no because I could feel, I knew that those experiences would ultimately lead me back to the same cycle. And I just needed to figure out a way to break the cycle. That's not to say I won't end up doing similar work again, because I do media. I work in media. I'm a
Mhm.
media girl, but I think figuring out a way to do that in a way that kind of fuels my life and gives me energy as opposed to zaps it and takes
Yes.
away a lot. It's important. And yeah, it's been a crazy, wonderful experience. So
Yeah, I think all money isn't good money.
no.
And I think one of the things that I believe is going to come out of the period of the great resignation and this, um, it's a different form of reckoning because you're seeing, I mean, as I drive around where I am in New Jersey, it's store after store. I'm hiring, we're hiring. And, you go on LinkedIn and I'm like inundated by recruiters.
Yeah.
And I even was, a recruiter hit me up for an opportunity. And then I started to vet the organization. And it had very bad reviews, a lot of churn. And I remember I was like, I love practice. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And, they went for the whole number thing. I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna throw out a number that's so high
It just
that they're
makes
gonna be like,
it
'No,
six.
thank you.'" Right? Because I didn't want it, but I hope what comes out of it, this period, is that companies start to think differently
Mhm.
about the relationship that they have with their workers, with their workforce,
They have to.
and because now the lines have blurred between work and home, right? It's usually, depending on your situation, it's one and the same. It always was, but we felt this line of delineation between, okay, I physically leave my house during the day and then I return to home. And then when we were forced to kind of have those meld together, either because of unemployment, I experienced layoff last year, actually a couple. um, and so now that things have blurred and they're intertwined in a way that is very real, and people have, been able to lean into that in the past 19 months, that it's given
Ah,
people an opportunity to have a level of discern. I know 19 months is
I'm
like, what?
sorry, like you said that, it made me like
It's like this
but
this
it has been, it's 19 months.
the
Woo!
the 19-month pomegranate. um, but to think about, it's been so long. And as we look at it and realize, like, okay, we've had to adjust to a lot of things. We've taken stock of what's important, I hope. Um, that, it goes back to that all money isn't good money. And so being able to think about different ways in which, you may be able to side hustle or manage something working from home, or being able to work from anywhere, right? All of these things that seemed impossible, that seemed impractical, from even a corporate standpoint, are things that are very real that we've all had to figure out. Companies had to figure out, countries had to figure it out. And now we are in a position where I think collectively there are a lot of people who are now saying, okay, now I get to choose. I don't want to work for $10 an hour, $15 an hour, and work 60 hours a week just to be barely able to pay my rent and student loans and everything else that I have in my life. why aren't companies paying more? Or, okay, you have all of these heads of D&I, but what are they doing? And why isn't your leadership reflective of
Sorry, did I just make a face? Sorry.
I mean, I could go on and
I
on
have
and on.
feelings. I have so many feelings about it. Like it's just yeah. So
Yes,
we'll save that for another conversation. We'll save that for a face-to-face conversation.
exactly. We will always be picking this back up. So, as we start to wrap, because I know it's late on your side, and I want to make sure you get some rest. Um, I want to just take a quick peek into the chat and to see if there's any more questions. So there was one, Blaxit Global Passport. If you go on to our website, blaxitglobal.com, in the header, you'll see a link to Passport. I'll also drop it into the description of this video. I did not get that handy before it went live, but I see Shar is on it as always. So yeah, so I want to, of course, thank you, Marquita,
Thank
for
you so much, Christian. Thank you. This was great. This is like it's very. I said it when you opened. You have such amazing energy, and it's your.
thank you.
Yeah, this is a pleasure. So I hope I hope you guys were able to get something out of it. Obviously, it is an amazing blessing that I've gotten for free and all of that. But let me tell you, the work that was put in to even be able to see this opportunity and to be open to it, it started way before. Like there's little things that I look back on, I'm like, oh wow, I was really ready for this. So
Yes.
yeah. But
Yes.
thank you so much for even wanting to talk and all of that good stuff. So and please keep doing this podcast for as long as you can, for as long as it gives you joy. Because you don't owe anything to us. You owe nothing to anyone. And what you've already created has been it's brilliant and it's so helpful and motivating and like you deserve all the flowers. So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yes, I want to thank everybody for jumping on. Of course, again, thank you, Marquita. And you guys will hear it here first. Marquita and I are going to record a podcast episode.
yeah.
So you know what? The love is going to continue. The love fest is going to continue.
And I promise I won't be as long-winded as I am.
No, that's what editing is for.
True. See, you're a pro. You're a pro. You're already got this. You already got it. You're already got it.
Well, thank you so much, Marquita. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I will see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Make sure you listen to the Blaxit Global podcast. And of course, please, I invite you to join me on Blaxit Global Passport. Till next time, bye for now.